The nation's total fertility rate turned around last year to reach 0.75. This is the first rebound in 9 years amid chronic depopulation woes. The president's impeachment trial hearings ended last night, with President Yoon making a political appeal against the National Assembly's team urging for his removal over his martial law declaration. Justices at the Constitutional Court now begin reviewing the case to reach a verdict. The U.S. and Ukraine have reportedly agreed upon a minerals deal as part of President Trump's push to end the war, with some calling it an exploitation. It's February 26, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start with some promising news on the local front. The nation's birth rate and fertility rate both rose for the first time in 9 years, driven by more marriages and supportive measures. Our Lee Soo-jin covers the latest data.
The number of births last year in South Korea rose for the first time in 9 years, marking a rare and encouraging shift in the nation's long-suffering demographic crisis. Data from Statistics Korea on Wednesday shows that there were 238,300 births in 2024, up 3.6% compared to the previous year. This marks the first time since 2015 that the number of births in Korea saw an on-year increase. And the nation's total fertility rate, the average number of children a woman is expected to have in her lifetime, also rose for the first time in 9 years to 0.75, after it fell to its lowest annual figure of 0.72 in 2023.
This shift is driven by the post-COVID-19 rise in marriages and an increase in the population of women in their 30s. A survey also shows that compared to 2 years ago, attitudes toward childbirth and parenting have become somewhat more positive.
The official also said that as the number of marriages last year came to 222,422, the highest recorded since 2019, the number of births may continue to see an upward tick this year. The positive shift comes as the government implemented various policies last year, such as extending the duration of parental leave. Yoo Hee-mi, Senior Presidential Secretary for Low Birth Rate Response, said on Wednesday that the government will address policy gaps in childcare and housing while supporting families with multiple children to sustain the increase. And the number of births for just the month of December also rose 11.6% compared to the previous year. But despite the turnaround in the total fertility rate, it remains low by international standards, as South Korea is currently the only country with a fertility rate below 1, signaling a continued need for targeted efforts to boost population growth. The country saw a natural population decline for the 5th straight year, as the number of deaths once again outnumbered the number of births. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Moving on, the final hearing of President Yoon's impeachment trial wrapped up yesterday, and the Constitutional Court today began deliberations. To delve deeper into the recent hearing and what lies ahead, let us turn to our political correspondent, Shin Ha-young. Ha-young, first, walk us through the president's final hearing yesterday.
Sure. So the 11th and final impeachment hearing came 73 days after the National Assembly passed an impeachment motion following President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law declaration on December 3rd. And as the final speaker in his trial, President Yoon defended his actions, insisting that his call for martial law was a one-off plea to the public during what he's described as a state of emergency caused by legislative obstruction and budget cuts from the opposition party. Take a listen.
지난 2년 반 동안 오로지 대통령 끌어내리기를 목표로 정부 공직자 줄탄핵 그리고 입법과 예산 폭거를 계속해 왔습니다. 헌법이 정한 정당한 견제와 균형이 아니라 민주적 정당성의 상징인 직선 대통령 끌어내리기 공작을 그야말로 쉼 없이 해온 것입니다.
He also pledged to push for political reform and more effective governance through constitutional amendments if he were to resume his duties. And despite his firm stance, Yoon also apologized for the confusion and inconvenience caused by his martial law declaration. And the National Assembly's impeachment panel co-chair Chung Chung-lee delivered his final statement before Yoon, saying that the public had already rejected Yoon and urged the court to uphold the impeachment. Take a listen.
President Yoon took the oath of office to uphold the Constitution and defend the nation. Yet he sent martial law troops to invade the National Assembly and trampled on the Constitution. The respondent no longer has the qualifications to remain as president. He is no longer the president in the hearts of the people.
And starting today, the Constitutional Court justices decided to hold deliberations every day except holidays and weekends until the verdict is delivered. And deliberations will take place in a secure room with anti-eavesdropping devices, and only the judges will have access, ensuring strict security throughout the process.
Now, all that's left is the court's verdict. When exactly will it happen? And what factors could affect the timing?
Well, Jung-min, based on the past presidential impeachment trials, the verdict is expected to come out around mid-March, right after about 2 weeks of deliberations, so some point between March 10th and 14th. And for the late former President Roh Moo-hyun, the court dismissed the impeachment motion 14 days after the final hearing, while it took 11 days for former President Park Geun-hye. And the court usually announces the verdict date just a few days before, and this time it's also likely to be confirmed 2 to 3 days in advance as well. And however, there is a factor that we need to consider when it comes to the timeline, which is the appointment of the vacancies on the Constitutional Court's Justice Panel. And the verdict on whether or not acting President Choi Sang-mok violated the Constitution in deferring the appointment of left-leaning Court Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk will be shared at 10 in the morning tomorrow. And this legal dispute follows the filing of a lawsuit by Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik earlier this month after acting President Choi appointed just 2 of the 3 justice nominees, citing the lack of bipartisan support for Ma Eun-hyuk. And if the court upholds the jurisdictional dispute and Ma joins the bench, it will need to decide whether Ma should also participate in deliberating President Yoon's impeachment case. And this could take additional time, particularly if Yoon's side requests a retrial to allow the new justice to review and familiarize himself with the case, potentially delaying the ruling.
And now let's talk about something else. Today, opposition leader Lee Jae-myung's final hearing was held in an appellate court over his election law violation charges. Tell us about that.
Sure. Indeed, the final appellate trial hearing for main opposition Democratic Party Lee Jae-myung's violation of the Public Official Election Act was held this afternoon at the Seoul High Court.
What is meant by the world will follow common sense and principles. The court will make the right decision.
In the original verdict, the Seoul Central District Court ruled that Lee had spread false information while disputing corruption allegations during his presidential campaign. And during a media interview in 2021, Lee denied knowing a man involved in a land development scandal in Seongnam and was also reported to have made false claims during a related parliamentary audit. And the court handed him a 1-year prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. And if the Constitutional Court upholds the motion to impeach President Yoon, there will be an early presidential election within 60 days. And the speed of the Supreme Court's review could become a crucial factor in Lee's presidential ambitions. And if the first ruling stands, Lee will lose his legislative seat and be barred from running in elections for 10 years. And the decision on his appeal could come as early as the end of next month. However, there is a variable. Earlier this month, Lee filed a request with the appellate court for a constitutional review, seeking a ruling on the constitutionality of relevant legal provisions. And if the court accepts the request, the trial will be suspended until the Constitutional Court issues a ruling. So far, the appellate court has yet to make a decision on this request.
Right, so March would be crucial for South Korea's political situation. Thanks for the wrap-up, Hayo.
Thank you.
At the Parliament earlier on Wednesday, rival lawmakers agreed to launch a special committee on national pension reform. In a meeting presided over by National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik, ruling People Power Party floor leader Kwon Song-dong, and opposition Democratic Party floor leader Park Chan-dae also agreed to further address the prospects of setting up such a committee this coming Friday during talks with acting President Choi Sang-mok. Aside from that, the floor leaders also agreed on 2 additional committees, one for climate-related initiatives and the other for APEC summit preparations, as Korea's city of Gyeongju prepares to host the annual multilateral gathering in November. The U.S. and Ukraine reportedly agree on signing a minerals deal considered key to ending the prolonged war, while critics call it an exploitation. Ukraine's leader could visit Washington this week to sign the deal. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji has more.
The United States and Ukraine are reportedly closing in on a critical minerals deal as U.S. President Donald Trump pushes to end the 3-year-long war. Media reports say, citing an unnamed Ukrainian official, that Ukraine has also reportedly agreed to the terms of the deal with the U.S. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy refused to sign an earlier draft of the agreement, saying he cannot sell Ukraine. But Trump told reporters on Tuesday that the Ukrainian leader wants to come to Washington on Friday to sign the deal.
I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. It's a very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal. It could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things. And look, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine and Russia fighting a war that should have never, ever happened. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president.
Former U.S. Treasury Secretary under the former Bill Clinton administration, Lawrence Summers, denounced the deal, pointing out that it's a clear departure from traditional American policies in previous major conflicts. Speaking to Bloomberg TV on Monday, he compared the minerals deal to the Treaty of Versailles. Only it imposes penalties on the victims of aggression and not on the aggressor. The Treaty of Versailles is a post-World War I peace treaty signed in 1919, which imposed huge financial and other burdens on Germany. Meanwhile, other experts have also called the minerals deal absurd.
For the United States to try to extract $500 billion in mineral resources from Ukraine after giving Ukraine about $60 billion in aid is an absolute absurdity. The Ukrainians have been doing the fighting and dying. All we've done is provide some aid, which is a pittance compared to what we've gotten from them, which is defending Europe against Russian aggression.
Although details of the deal are not yet known, if signed, the agreement is expected to allow the United States to take 50% of Ukraine's rare earth mineral deposits, worth $500 billion. Ukraine is believed to hold substantial reserves of critical minerals, including graphite, uranium, titanium, and lithium. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
Israel and Hamas reached an agreement on Tuesday local time to exchange the bodies of 4 dead Israeli hostages for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. They were due to be freed last Saturday, but the process was delayed after Israel protested what it calls cruel treatment of hostages during their release by Hamas. This comes as the six-week ceasefire between the 2 parties expires this weekend, unless a new agreement is reached to extend it. The 2 sides initially planned to begin negotiations to end the war permanently in early February, but such talks have yet to take place. In the U.S., a new visa program is in the works. The so-called Trump Gold Card will offer green card privileges and a path to U.S. citizenship at a price of $5 million. Choi Min-jung has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump plans to terminate the EB-5 immigrant investor visa program. Trump said Tuesday that the EB-5 program, which grants permanent residency to foreign nationals promising to invest in American businesses, will be replaced by a gold card system. This new pathway to citizenship would allow individuals to purchase residency for $5 million.
And wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful.
Trump said the new program could start in about 2 weeks. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick explained that the measure was introduced because the cost of investment for the EB-5 program was too low at around $1 million for investors that create at least 10 jobs.
It was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low-priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card.
Trump has also initiated a probe that could result in tariffs on copper imports. On Tuesday, Trump instructed the Department of Commerce to examine copper imports, and if the probe uncovers evidence of dumping, the administration could impose tariffs or quotas in response. Trump's decision is part of his broader effort to expand his protectionist trade policies. In 2018, he used a similar investigation to justify tariffs on steel and aluminum imports and plans to bring them back next month. Lutnick said Tuesday that it is time for copper to come home, arguing that foreign competition has severely weakened the American copper industry, just as it did with steel and aluminum. Copper is vital for numerous industries, including defense, with the U.S. importing 45% of its supply, mainly from Chile and Canada. Although the U.S. was once the world's top copper producer, it now ranks 5th. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, an investigation is underway to uncover the cause of the collapse on Tuesday of a bridge under construction. Police said on Wednesday they were questioning on-site officials from the main construction company, Hyundai Engineering, and subcontracting companies. There were 10 casualties in the collapse, including 4 who were killed. Officers say it would take some time to get statements from the surviving construction workers because some were seriously injured and are in an intensive care unit. The catastrophe happened in Anseong, south of the capital, Seoul, at the site of the bridge construction over a steep valley on the Seoul-Sejong Expressway. This year, Korea marks 115 years since the execution of independence hero Ahn Junggeun, whose faith in freedom for Korea fueled his fight against Japanese occupation and its atrocities. That being said, a memorial museum bearing his name is reopening its doors in time for this weekend's March 1st Independence Movement Day. Our Kim Bo-kyung reports.
An independence fighter who cut off the tip of his left ring finger with 11 others as a symbol of sacrifice to their nation. A patriot who assassinated Japanese General Ito Hirobumi, firing 3 bullets into his chest and abdomen in Harbin before being executed at Lushin prison. Marking the 115th anniversary of his death, the Ahn Junggeun Memorial Museum held a reopening ceremony on Wednesday. An expanded range of digital exhibits is part of the Patriot's ministry's efforts to renew the memorial museums of Korea's patriots. Yoon Bong-gil, Ahn Junggeun, and Baekbum Kim-gu commemorating the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation.
Through introducing the latest digital content and immersive video rooms, visitors can now experience the life and independence movement of Patriot Ahn Junggeun in a more vivid and interactive way.
Ahn's commitment to the Enlightenment movement in Korea, his role in the Righteous Army movement, along with his long journey are well shown throughout the exhibition. But of course, the most noticeable part of the renewed exhibition is how it digitized major historical moments and lessons Ahn left. If you put your hand on Ahn's handprint with his fingers cut off, it turns on the video on the wall showing Ahn pulling the trigger of his pistol to assassinate Ito Hirobumi, letting visitors feel the atmosphere at that moment. The museum recreated the courtroom as well, where Ahn explains why he shot Ito, citing 15 reasons based on trial records. In the reproduced video, Ahn also talks about a treatise on peace in the East, which he wrote while at Lucian prison until his execution on March 26, 1910.
I have always thought it has been difficult to convey why Ahn Junggeun shot Ito, the meaning behind it, and the ideals and dreams he envisioned. Through the renewal, I hope people will be able to easily understand Ahn's advanced philosophy on peace.
People will be able to enjoy the renewed Ahn Junggeun Memorial Museum starting March 1st, Independence Movement Day. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Korean calligraphy, that is the art of writing Hangul, has recently been designated as a national heritage. In light of this event, our Ahn Sung-jin shares its appeal in this following report.
A delicate brushstroke lands on the paper. These single strokes come together to create characters from the Korean alphabet Hangul. This is known as Hangul Soye, or Hangul calligraphy. 94-year-old Chung Joo-hwan has dedicated more than 60 years of his life to practicing calligraphy and is one of the first to practice the art form.
Hangul was easy to learn and memorize. It's also very scientifically made. Look at the beauty of these characters.
Calligraphy in Korea has used both hanja, which are Chinese characters, and the Korean alphabet Hangul. But last month, Hangul Soye was designated as a national intangible cultural heritage, recognizing its unique writing style using Korea's own alphabet, as well as its unique font and brushwork. Chung runs his own academy where he passes on his knowledge of calligraphy.
I like letters, but I also started learning calligraphy to control my mind more peacefully and cultivate a sense of virtue, which I think has been helping.
An old saying says that Soye helps grow patience and train one's mind. Not only does this show the beauty of the written characters, but it also helps develop one's own character.
And calligrapher Lee Jung-hwa feels Hangul is a better medium to convey meaningful messages.
The reason why I like Hangul Soye is because I can convey emotions through characters that really represent our sound, since it is the Korean alphabet. That's why moving forward, I want to try everything I can using Hangul Soye and find what I really can accomplish.
The Korea Heritage Service said it will provide support for scholarly studies and initiatives aimed at promoting the transmission of cultural heritage. Soye is an age-old tradition, and with efforts like these to promote it further, this calligraphy could play a key role in sharing not only the Korean writing system, but also its culture. Ahn Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Tomorrow will be much milder than today, with daytime temperature in Seoul rising to 12 degrees Celsius. The weather will feel as warm as early spring. However, as temperatures rise significantly during the day, frozen ice sheets can suddenly break in rivers or lakes. Please be careful in these areas. Except for the western parts of the country, the air continues to be dry nationwide. It doesn't seem like the dry weather warnings and advisories will be lifted soon. With gusty winds blowing, extra care is necessary with fire usage. Tomorrow's Seoul and Gwangju will start off at -1 degree, Daejeon and Daegu at -4 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 15 degrees in Daejeon and Gwangju and 16 degrees in Daegu. More rain is forecast in some areas, starting with Jeju Island tomorrow. It is expected to rain all over the country on Sunday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.